Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Famvestor Podcast. I'm your host, Sonny Burns.
And I'm your co-host, Sunmarie Burns.
So, it is late November. We're getting ready for Thanksgiving, November 22nd. We're also getting ready for baby. You can see a crib right over there.
2 weeks away at this point, so it's getting really real at this point. We're looking forward to meeting our little boy when he decides to come. We had an awesome past weekend. We went on a baby moon. Sunny's been really good about that with all of our kids, just finding time for him and me to get away right before the next baby comes, just to connect and have a nice time together. So this time we went to Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and
Amish country.
It was such a beautiful weekend. We got really great weather, and we did some really wonderful things. We visited an Amish working farm. We learned to make apple cider, fresh from the apples.
Apple press.
Yep. We made butter, hand-churned butter. We baked bread, and then we all had a feast and enjoyed it and learned about Amish traditions and culture. He took me to a tea house, which I thought was super awesome because I've always loved going to tea houses, and I didn't know if he'd ever be interested in doing it with me, but he surprised me with a reservation at a tea house. And
we got high tea.
Yes, I was so thrilled. And then we visited the Sight and Sound Theater and saw the show Queen Esther.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. They had live animals on the stage. The stage was huge.
Really beautiful. If you haven't been to one of their performances, highly recommend it. Biblically based stories with amazing scenery, great acting and singing, and the best part is the live animals that are there too. Like they had camels walking across the stage and horses riding down the aisles. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, and then we got to eat at a smorgasbord, which was pretty cool. I don't know what it is exactly. It's a buffet.
Basically, it's a buffet of home-style cooking, but really good. It was our first time, so that was fun.
Yeah. Logistics-wise, we had our youngest, Kaylee, our almost 2-year-old, staying at her parents' house, and then our 2 boys staying at my parents' house. So the grandparents kind of
divided up on the responsibility of watching our kids for one night while we were
but I think they had a great time too. So all in all, it was a pretty good weekend.
Yeah, dads out there, highly recommend that. You take your wife on a baby moon. Just builds special memories, and it's nice to get away because you're about to launch back into life with little ones, which can get a bit exhausting. It's nice to have a trip to remember.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I feel like for a baby moon, I always think like, what can we do without the kids? Because I feel like all the activities we ever do is like kid centered, or kids can be along with. And we talk about that a little bit in this episode. We have a really good episode for you guys, by the way, about how your kids can be involved. And I feel like so much of the things we like doing, we can easily bring our kids along with. Like this Lancaster trip, pretty much everything we could have probably brought, except for the tea house. The tea house probably wouldn't have been good with the kids. Yeah. That's interesting. So yeah, the first time I think we went to New York City for our baby moon, and then we went to a really cool place called Mohonk Mountain House for our second baby moon. So yeah, anyway, just things to consider, something fun to do, like a weekend getaway right before the baby comes.
Yeah.
And now we're just waiting for this new life to arrive.
Yeah, we're almost at Thanksgiving. We'll see if he comes after Thanksgiving or right around Thanksgiving. We'll see.
So we met the guests on today's show about 6 months ago when we took our 14-day tenting trip or camping trip around the Grand Circle in Utah. And they were such a cool family. And I don't know, we instantly kind of felt a kinship with them. They were just kind of staying near our campground, and we connected.
We met them at Zion State Park. So a little bit.
No, it was Bryce Canyon before
Bryce Canyon.
Zion.
That's right. Bryce Canyon, which was towards the latter part of our trip. But they had been on a 6-week camping journey. We were on 14 days, and we thought that was pretty epic. And when we heard they had been on the road at that point for like 5.5 weeks or so.
With a newborn,
we were just like, whoa, we need to hear more about this journey.
Yeah, and they were just traveling in a minivan, all four kids, and yeah, just a cool family. So we went on a hike with them, maybe two hikes, and yeah, just really just enjoyed their company and just felt like such a holistic family. And
Yeah, we struck up a friendship and we just felt like they had an awesome story to share. So we wanted to get them on the show.
yeah, so without further ado, let's get to the show.
You're listening to the Famvestor Podcast. If you're looking to raise your family with intention, gain financial independence, and live a life of true freedom, you're in the right place. Join us as we explore together how to create thriving families, because strong families are the cornerstone for a world at peace.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Famvestor Podcast. Super excited today. We are interviewing someone we met on our Utah camping trip when we went around the Grand Circle last summer. And we met this really cool family. We have Josh and Angel Finley on the show. They were married back in 2010. They had their first child in 2015. Prior to their child, they were world travelers. And then now they've just been doing great adventures with their family. They now have 4 kids, and we're going to be speaking with them about, their homeschooling their kids. And when we met them, they were on like week 6 of this incredible cross-country adventure, and they had just a newborn with them. So it was just kind of a really cool family that we met and really clicked with. We went on a couple hikes with them, and just someone we wanted to bring on the show because they seemed like all about family, finance, and freedom. So it just seemed like a great couple to have on the show. So I just wanted to welcome Josh and Angel. Welcome to the show.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, so I guess just to get everyone familiar, maybe can you guys give us a little background about, we want to dig into this trip, this 6-week trip that you guys took with a newborn, with 4 kids.
And camping in a tent.
Yeah, just back-to-back camping. Like, you guys only camped, right? Or did you guys use any hotels during that trip?
We used a few hotels. So we were gone 6 weeks, probably once a week.
So it was about 9
every
days.
10 days or so.
Yeah, 9 or 10 days. We would shower at a hotel and do laundry at the hotel laundry or laundromat next to the hotel.
Yeah.
So we only packed enough for about a week and a half of clothing, and then that would be our hotel refresh. Give everyone a swim in the chlorine pool and then shower.
That's awesome. Yeah, definitely need those showers. And I was so surprised because back home, in New Jersey, we're used to just having showers, and you'd think, and these are like in the state parks, but we found when we went to Utah, the state parks were a lot nicer than national parks. National parks didn't give you showers, and I was like, what is this?
Yeah, it wasn't
No
a
electricity,
given.
no showers.
Yeah.
Definitely roughing it.
Yeah, and it's worse there because there's kids, they lay down in the dust and they're making dust angels, and there's no showers, and everything's just filled with dust, sleeping bags, and
We definitely had to stop halfway. I think maybe 4 weeks into the trip, we stopped at maybe a Dollar General to get a tent broom so we could sweep out our tent because it was so much dust.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So tell us about how you came up with this grand plan to take such a trip. And you had, when you started out, you had a newborn who was not very old yet, right? 6 weeks maybe, or
Yeah. It's between 6 and 8 weeks. Yeah.
So where did this dream of taking this epic trip come from?
Yeah.
Yeah, we wanted to, I had 10 weeks of paternity with the newborn. So I'm in sourcing at a Fortune 50 company. So they're very generous paternity leave. And so we decided neither of us are ones that really sit around. So we decided we wanted to actually do something with it. So we started throwing around ideas. I think we talked about going, just renting a house internationally for 6-7 weeks, different traveling plans. But with COVID and everything, it just was way easier to, especially not knowing when the baby was going to come, way easier just to say, well, we'll do a road trip. Stay domestic, not worry about travel restrictions, and just road trip it up.
Mm-hmm. Had you done this kind of travel with your older kids prior to this, or was this like a first time thing?
Yeah, because so many couples, I feel like we meet them and they're like, oh, you have kids, you can't travel. And
Camping with kids? Oh, no.
We've definitely done camping trips with our kids.
Yeah.
Not just 6 weeks was our biggest adventure yet. And with our newborn, when my oldest was 1, we traveled all over the world with her. My husband was working for an airline company at the time, so we definitely frequented those benefits. So we flew with her across the world. And then when the other ones came and he switched jobs, we did more camping, traveling, road tripping with the kids.
Yeah. And your parents live about 12, 13 hours away.
Yeah.
So we do that road trip pretty frequently.
Yeah, a few times a year. So they're used to being in the car.
Yeah.
And doing it.
That's cool. How many countries has your eldest been to?
3 or 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, long though, like Australia and Hong Kong, like nice, significant 16-hour flights.
Wow.
With an under 1-year-old.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
That's
Wow.
impressive.
Australia and Hong Kong. That's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. It's fun.
yeah, it's so fun.
So I know you guys did extensive traveling, between getting married and having kids, and you guys were just exploring the world, and that was based because you had that perk of working for an airline, or how'd that come about? Or you guys just grew up as world travelers and just wanted to pursue
No,
that?
his family,
Yeah. I mean, we both like travel.
yeah, we
Like starting out. That
culture
was-
learning and just,
experiencing new things, new places. My parents always, we never traveled internationally, but we would always travel around the States, camping and road tripping. And then in college, I studied abroad. Absolutely love that. And that kind of, turned on the international bug a bit. And Angel traveled a bunch. Angel moved a lot in college.
different states. And then so just that, and he really got me hooked onto the outdoor side of it. My family was more like resort or, theme park kind of adventurers. And his family was more the outdoors. So that I really thought it was a frugal way to see an adventure is to go out and hike or go out and be outside with it. You can travel somewhere else, somewhere around the world and spend very little money if you're just outside exploring, walking around the city and things like that. And I think that's how we kind of made it or did it.
Yeah, very true. If you think about, if you limit yourself to thinking, oh, I need to stay in a resort and I need to go see all the tourist traps, it does add up really quickly. I remember when we went to Hawaii our first time, we did not do pretty much any of the tourist traps. And to some, they might think, oh, well, you missed out on all the cool stuff like the off-roading vehicles and the zip lining and all
skydiving.
Helicopter tours. But honestly, I feel like you can have a much more authentic experience when you don't do those things, and you just use your feet and take a walk and hike the beautiful land in all these places.
I think Josh has like a running joke, literally a running joke, because pretty much his favorite thing is when we travel is he has to take a run in that city because he can run 4 or 5 miles and say, I know this whole city of wherever we are, because he ran around the streets and said, we have to go here and here.
So you're a runner. So you get to a new city, Dad goes for the run, and then he comes home and says, all right, I know what we're going to do.
This is where we're going.
Okay. So it sounds like you guys, are pretty good travelers, and you're bringing your kids up to speed, as they're born, you're bringing them traveling. I'm just curious, and I know you guys are homeschooling, so that allows a lot more freedoms. Especially a lot of parents, they feel like the kids need to be sitting in school all the time, and only summertime you can have that vacation or that getaway. And then a lot of times also that just leads to so much logistics issues because everyone wants to be there or whatever else like that. So anyway, my question is, taking 4 kids on the road, were you homeschooling the kids with like a paper curriculum or anything like that during those 6 weeks?
During the 6 weeks, we kind of put away the textbooky curriculums, and we just kind of took a more like a more organic schoolwork or homeschool work approach, where we studied the stars that night, and we each had a map of each of the kids had a map of the United States, and once we crossed through a state, they would color it. And so we would have those maps tucked in and those kinds of things just like along the way. I brought like one, I think, a workbooky type thing for the kids if they ever felt like they needed to draw or write, and tons of sketchbooks, and just said, oh, you like Joshua Tree? Draw a Joshua Tree. Did you like that hill? Or what was your favorite part of the day? And I remember we were in the Tetons, I think, and we were around the little fire, and each of the kids had this sketchbook, and then we had seen a rainbow that morning.
Awesome.
And so they each were drawing their version of the rainbow over the Tetons. And I was like, this is homeschooling. This is beautiful. And so that's kind of the approach I think we took during the 6-week trip.
I love that. I mean, just traveling across country, I feel like in visiting historic and national parks, there's just so much you can learn about the geography, the history of that area, the culture.
Yeah.
So I feel like, it's almost immersion schooling.
Yes.
Totally.
You
don't need a book in front of you because you are like the living experience.
And we definitely did the Junior Ranger programs, which are, I think,
program.
my kids love those Junior Ranger programs.
Every park has a naturalist trail with signs about the wildlife and geology and history. And so, they definitely got it.
So for the listeners who don't know what the Junior Ranger program is, do you want to tell us a little bit about what that is?
I actually have a Junior Ranger badge right here because they're all
Oh,
over.
yes, Capital Range.
Our kids still pull these out, and they were constantly still playing with them.
They're
They
so
love them. Absolutely love them. But it's every national park. You can go in and request a little workbook. And based on your kids' age levels, they ask you to fill out certain pages or a certain number of pages. And it's all educational, interesting stuff about the park. And
sometimes it's activities. You see a Junior Ranger talk or things like that. And then you bring it to an actual park ranger. And they'll sign for you the kids' book, and then they do a pledge. The kids have a pledge to protect that particular park or in all parks and things.
And they get the physical
And they get a
badge.
physical badge, yeah.
Yeah, no, it was such a cool program. Our kids loved it, and I feel like that was so much motivation. Like sometimes they'd be tired of a hike, but they're like, "Oh, the thing says I got to do this hike," and they were gung ho.
Yeah, and I feel like it got them inspired to learn about those national parks, whereas otherwise they probably wouldn't want to sit there and read a sign or learn the background.
How many states did you guys go to, and how many national parks?
18 states, 17 national parks.
18 states. Wow, I feel like that's a lot, even for 6 weeks.
Yeah, we did a lot. We were trucking.
So let's go back to the beginning of this trip, or right before the trip. How did you plan this trip out, and how did you prepare for the trip?
Yeah, did you do any, because you said you didn't do too much camping, or you did do some camping. Anyway,
Beforehand.
what was your preparation there?
Well, I think our very first thing was get a tent. I think we have 2 tents, and we do tent and camp, but we've always, when we do camping, we do 2 tents, me and the baby in a tent, and then Josh with the older kids in the tent. Okay. And I said, gosh, setting up 2 tents every single night. Just
it's grown out of, first we only had a 2-person tent, we had a 2-person tent, then we got a 4-person tent, and grew out of the 4-person tent into both tents. And so we needed a tent that we could all be in. If it was raining, there was space to do puzzles or books or whatever.
Yeah. So
got a tent
that could fit all of us under one tent roof.
What was that? Was that like a 6-person tent? How big was it?
We splurged. We got the 10.
Nice.
Because we weren't backpacking the weight of it. We said if it fit in the car, in the van, then we could do it. Yeah. So that was good.
So which one did you opt for? Does it have multiple rooms in it, or is it like one giant room? I know
it's one giant room. I mean, it does have a divider down the middle that you can break it into.
Break if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, it worked for us.
I think it was great for us. It was very sturdy. It was wonderful. We just got it on clearance at Walmart. And I said, we're going to try it. And if it works, it works. And it was great. And we've loved it.
Awesome.
Our model for most of our stuff is we're always within a couple hours of a store. Yeah. When it breaks, we'll go get a new one.
We'll figure it out.
Or pack minimally, and when we absolutely need something, you can go buy it.
Yeah.
We tried not to splurge on too much equipment or.
Yeah, and sleeping bags. I think we have sufficient sleeping bags. I think if you're new to this or you're trying to pack out, we hit a wide array of temperatures. I think our hottest camping night was in Death Valley. It was 112.
Oh man.
And then our coldest was 23. Oof. And the Guadalupe and Tetons are both in the 20s. So packing a sleeping bag was pretty essential to have for the trip, I think.
Sleeping bag, and then we also just had one too.
If you needed it, yeah.
Did you pack different types of sleeping bags, like a cold weather sleeping bag and a warm weather, or you just went with one and then like sheets?
Just one, and then we had a few sheets and a few loose blankets. So if it was really hot, they would just sleep on top of a blanket and be good.
Did you guys have camping mats for the kids or yourselves, or no camping mats?
I was on a camping mat, and the kids were on a camping mat, and then Josh
and our 2-year-old, we had an air mattress. We had 2 air mattresses and 2 like camping mats.
and we just rotated.
We did a bunch of permutations of who slept where and with who,
Whatever.
trying to find what was best. But mostly ended up being Angel and the baby on a camping mat, me and the 2-year-old on one of the air mattresses, and then the 6 and 4-year-old split between either the other air mattress or
Somewhere's in the tent.
Yeah.
What about pillows? Did you guys have pillows?
Yes, we did. Everybody brought a real pillow.
The kids,
Whoa.
The kid had smaller
smaller
like
pillows
kid-sized pillows.
that each had a different color.
Yeah.
And that was their space. And then we each got an actual pillow.
And everything fit in just one minivan, right? That's what you guys were traveling with.
2005 Toyota Sienna.
Nice. Yes, that's our ride too.
35,000 miles, still kicking. We call that real Old Faithful because she made it through back and forth.
Yeah, we put a roof rack on it.
Yeah, about 2 weeks before, I think we decided that his dad was like, I have this roof rack. And I said, you know what, that might actually be
That was
a good,
for sure.
just, it would have been hard.
Might have had to ditch those pillows.
Yeah, we would have, yeah, those very crucial, wonderful pillows. So, yeah. And for so planning, that was logistically, that was like material-wise, equipment-wise.
Yeah.
That was it. And
But I mean, honestly, we were pretty open-ended on a lot of the locations that we stayed at. So, I mean, we live in Ohio, and Angel's brother was getting married in Houston. So that was our first stop, like pretty much.
Ohio to Houston, that's a long drive.
That's probably like a 20-hour shot, right?
it was like 16 and a half. Well, we stopped just north of Houston because it was about midnight. And it was like, we should just stop. And then we can just.
That was our longest drive of the whole trip. We just did that in a day and a half.
Wow.
But then outside of that, we had a few reservations. So national parks can be a tough to get reservations at the campgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
So especially the big parks. So we had a few reservations at big parks.
We had 3 going into the trip. We started 6 weeks. We only had 3 reservations. And then the rest, some are first come, first serve.
Yeah.
So you can't even reserve, like Guadalupe was first come, first serve. So we knew to leave really early from the place we were camping before to get there so we can get a spot. And then some are 2-week rentals out. You can't book it until 2 weeks out. So we just had to make sure we were in a spot that actually had internet so we could book, because lots of the parks.
They book within a minute.
Yeah.
Ooh, that sounds stressful, actually, to be on the road and not know if you're going to find accommodations.
There were, for the most part, it was, we knew within a few days, where we were going to stay, right? So we kept it a few days out. It was always like, oh, well, where are we going to stay next week that we were worried about?
Yeah, but I think there's so much camping now. There's so many state parks. You might not be in the national park, but you're close enough to driving distance to a national park that you can find a campground almost anywhere. I know one of our last nights we were driving to St. Louis, and it was like 11 o'clock, and Josh was like, you know what, I think we're ready just for a hotel. And we happened to drive through where's the College World Series in Omaha, and not a single hotel room. We couldn't find one. But luckily there was also Memorial Day weekend, and there was one campsite available in this little tiny town. I was like, we're taking it, we're taking it. So, but that was probably a fun little addition.
Yeah, that was probably the only night where we really didn't know. And then when we tried to look, because the plan was to just get a hotel wherever we stopped.
Yeah.
Wow.
Did you guys camp out at any of those BLM lands? I remember when we were in Utah, there was like BLM land everywhere, and apparently you can camp wherever you want in that public land.
Yeah, that was always our backup. It's like, worst case scenario, we can go in the BLM.
This trip we did it. We have.
We've done it before, but this trip we pretty much always stayed in a park.
Okay. But we have the BLM land.
Yeah.
And it's been good.
For those who don't know what BLM land is, do you want to explain?
I can't really explain. I don't know.
Yeah.
Josh, can you explain?
It's Bureau of Land Management. So it's federally owned land that's not designated as a park or a natural reserve. Mostly just used for like cattle. Ranchers will rent it, or they'll maybe drill oil on it or something like that. But it's free to camp on as long as you're so far away from water sources and road.
Oh,
Okay.
interesting.
What about Walmart parking lots? Do you ever consider that?
No,
I don't know if we could do that.
I would probably say pull into a campsite or like a
Yeah,
campground.
I'd probably just get a cheap hotel.
No, I would just sleep in my car in the campground site. I don't know, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like at a campground parking lot,
Yeah.
I don't know, but not in the site.
Yeah, that would be like worst case scenario.
Worst.
Go to the Walmart.
Yeah, we didn't even go there.
So-
You didn't
go
have
there, my
to.
brain.
So
Yeah.
we didn't do 6 weeks, but we did 14 days. And I felt like the most annoying thing was, we kind of tried to hit as many spots as we could also in those 14 days. So every 2 or 3 days, even sometimes every 1 day, we'd have to unpack and pack our tent. That was like the most annoying thing ever. And then we see all these like campers around and they just get up and go. I'm sure there's more involved to that. But yeah, it seemed really easy. Did you guys also, like, what was your average nightly stay?
At each location.
Yeah.
2 to 3 nights probably.
We did a few one-nighters, and our longest, I think, was 3 nights.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you really
So one
were
night-
moving quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. One night would be if we're traveling, like we drove from LA to Sequoia National Park, right? So we just stayed a night in between. We tried to break up our drive. Outside of our first initial drive to Houston, we tried to break up drives to 4 or 5 hours
Mm.
No,
so that we weren't spending all day in the car, basically.
Yeah.
So how was that breaking down camp and setting up so frequently? Was that tiring on you? Did it wear you down, or you didn't mind it so much?
It was easier than I thought it was going to be.
We kind of, each of the kids kind of had a job. One person was in charge of rolling up mats. One person had to stack up the sleeping bags. Like if they kind of had a little job, it gave the kids like something to do that was purposeful, but then also so Josh can quickly break down the tent, I can clean up the food. And so kind of giving them a job, but also we can do what we need to do.
And we never really would unpack. I mean, we would set up our tent and get our sleeping stuff out, but we never really would unpack everything else, right? So we had a big boat in the back of the car that we would, with our cooking stuff, we'd get that out when we cooked, put it back at the end of the day. We can't really leave food or anything out of the car anyways in most national parks. So it was pretty much every night, everything was already packed up. So you just have the tent that you have to break down.
That's awesome that your kids are helping. And I don't think we said, but your eldest is 6?
Yep.
She's 6. Yeah, she
Yeah.
just turned 6 the week before we left.
Wow, that's awesome.
So the ages are 6, 4, 2,
And now the youngest is 9 months.
now she's 9 months, but at the time she
About
was
2 months.
only
Month and a
like
half,
2
2
months
months.
old. Yeah.
Yeah. So she
Wow.
didn't have a job.
Right.
Everyone else had a job. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool.
It was.
Yeah. So in terms of food, how did you manage that for a family of 6 on the road? Did you eat out a lot? Did you bring along a lot? How did you plan for it? Because I know, especially in certain parts of the country, it's actually really hard to come by supermarkets. So you really have to kind of think that through before you journey into no man's land.
Right. Yeah. It was kind of on our 9-day wash cycle. That's when our grocery store cycle would go. So every week and a half, it's where we would stop at the hotel. And so we'd stop at the hotel, laundry, grocery shop. It was kind of like a refresher. And then you would start
We'd pick up little things every now and then.
like eggs. We didn't eat out actually. I think 3 times on the actual camping trip. I think we ate out the whole time. Breakfast,
Wow.
we just did oatmeal yogurt standard. And then lunch was packed sandwiches. And then dinner were 1-pot meals. Just what can we put together in a pot? Pasta, beans. If it was cold, beans and a hot dinner, just throw a bunch of things in, call it a stew and a soup. And the kids loved it. And then if it was hot, it would just be, I don't even know, eggs. We did eggs a bunch. Things like that. Yeah. So we just kind of whatever we could cook in one pot that we had, just throw it all in there. And You eat it. Yeah.
Wow, that is awesome. So okay, so I guess most of the your meals were cold meals, right? Like breakfast and lunch. It sounds like you didn't need a cooler for some of that stuff. Did you have a big cooler that's supposed to carry you 9 days in, or how was that?
We did have a cooler for like the yogurt and the eggs, and we kept that in the cooler.
No beer.
Milk, any drinks, any beverages. Kombucha we kept in there. Yeah. So we would just need to, sometimes we would stop for ice at there's a gas station or at the parks.
We have on ice every few days. Most parks sell ice, or gas stations are pretty accessible to find ice.
Wait, were you guys making kombucha on this road trip?
He made it He made a few bottles before.
A few bottles.
He was it here, and then he brought it with us, a few bottles along the way. That was his little treats along the way. It was the kombucha.
I was going to say, if you were making that on your trip, then you're really ambitious.
No, that's,
absolutely not.
Did a lot of that.
So usually the only hot meal was dinner time.
And then
usually,
Other than oatmeal in the morning.
Yeah, we would do hot oatmeal sometimes. I mean, and if it was a really cold day and we were camping all day, we'd maybe do a hot lunch too. But pretty rare, because most of the time we're not at the campsite. We'd be off hiking or whatever.
Right.
And what would be like your fuel source? Are you doing just wood fires? Did you have a propane stove?
I had a propane 2-burner, just like a standard Coleman camp stove.
We knew for the first 2 or 3 weeks of the trip that it was going to be no
fire.
Because it was desert and hot, so they don't have. It's like a no burn.
A lot of the Southwest parks are fire restricted for most of the year, just because it's so dry.
So they're worried about forest fires and things.
Right.
Wow. So you did need to have a different way of cooking.
First thing, parks, we weren't even able to have a fire.
Yeah, so we had to do the stove. We knew we would have to do that, and then after that, we could use the fire for cooking or fun fire times, marshmallows. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of clothing, you said you washed about every 9 days. How many outfits did you pack for each family member? Because I know adults you can plan easily, but kids are a bit unpredictable. They get dirty really fast.
Wet.
Yeah, or wet.
I'm not going to get wet in this creek. I'm going to be safe and careful, and then splash.
Totally. Socks are wet, shoes are wet. Yeah, everyone got footwear, everyone got a pair of water shoes, and then pair of tennis shoes. Hiking shoes, and then clothes-wise, the kids, we did 4 short sleeve outfits. I did 4 short sleeves outfits and then 4 long sleeves. So you kind of did the reverse, turn it inside out, and it's still clean. I mean, they were just camping, so it's just more red dirt on top of it. So we just did 4 shorts. I had 4 cold outfits and 4 to 5 cold and 4 to 5 warm outfits for each of them, and just kind of wore them till the end.
Wow.
Nice.
I think the baby, we probably gave a little exception because she has littler clothes. I could pack a little bit more.
Right.
Do the kids still talk about this trip?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. They still bring it up all the time. I think that's what is one of our worries, is that they're all too young to actually remember it. So we'd be doing all this. I mean, that's we're doing it for us. We enjoy it too. But we're doing all this, and then none of them will ever remember it. But I think
we'll just do it again when they're all older, and then we can all go together. They'll be carrying us up the hikes.
And you'll have the pictures, and you can talk about it and keep the story alive. We just set up our Christmas tree, actually, and we hung up an ornament that we bought towards the end of our trip, which was Utah ornament. It had all the landmarks from a bunch of the parks in Utah, and Balin was reminiscing. He's like, look, this is the Delicate Arch from Arches National Park, and these are the Grand Canyon. So I'm like, okay, he didn't forget, it's all still there.
Yeah.
It is.
When we
talk about it, and they talk about their favorite hikes and which is their favorite parks when they meet people. So what's your favorite national park? And so that's a great conversation starter. It's good. So
Yeah, they were doing that too, especially right when we came back. And even still, I remember we went on some hikes and we were looking at like mountain biking trails in Moab. And I told the kids then, like, well, maybe come back in like 5 years and we'll do this. And they're still to this day, they always mention, in 5 years, we're going back to Utah.
We're going back. Daddy said.
Yeah, and I want to. I think it'd be so awesome to go mountain biking with the kids when they're older.
Mm-hmm.
So with all the clothing, did you put them in suitcases? Did you have individual bags for each person? How'd you organize that into your car?
Yeah, so we went to Walmart again and got the biggest duffel bags that they had. And we did 2 kids to a duffel bag.
An opposite gender, so I could clearly tell whose clothes was who.
Yeah.
Smart.
So a boy and a girl in a bag, and a boy and a girl in a bag, and then I could clearly
We each had a bag.
we each had a bag
And the bags were big enough so you could put all the clothes in, plus the pillows.
on top, and then take the bag. So everyone had all their pillows and 2 kids' clothes in a bag.
Nice.
So then we just could pack everything, including most of the.
And the sleeping bag, so you got another duffel bag for just all the sleeping bags. So we just would pull out the sleeping bag, duffel bag, and that would
That's
be
all that was in our roof rack. The rooftop area was those five duffel bags. So it made it easy to get things in and out. You just grab the duffel bags. And
we had ribbons on the outside. They got to pick whatever ribbon they wanted to signify which duffel bags belonged to which kid. So I could easily see, oh, this one's this one. Because they were all the exact duffel bag.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you guys have any moments during the 6-week trip where you were like, what are we doing? Or was there like anything like that happen at all? Or was it all just rainbows and roses?
I wouldn't say it was all
winter, not rainbows and roses.
I did say, I remember one time setting up the tent. We were setting up the tent together and the kids were rock climbing or something. I was like, are we crazy? Yes, but I love it. But I really loved it. It was our kids, just the joy of them being there was worth it. They just had so much fun. They were so happy to be together. Like, I would say that relatively little arguments, relatively little breakdowns, and just be together. We just were together. There was nothing distracting us, or it was just us together, hanging out and doing what we love. So I think that was enough to keep going to week 5 and week 6. And yeah.
I love that. I think it's so true. You know, when you get kids out in a new element, out into nature, a lot of those daily annoyances just disappear because there's just so much wonder around them that they can take in. We notice that too with our children. When we take them out camping or to the outdoors, there's a calm that just comes over them when they are in nature and, you know, exploring and learning new things.
So, Angel and Josh, it sounds like you had a great trip, but there must have been something that happened along this whole trip. 6 weeks is a lot of time. Can you highlight some instance of, where just something didn't happen as intended?
You go for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think our biggest mishap, which was just a mishap, was we had been hiking for 9 days, the 9-day again. And we had been in the Utah and Red Rock, so super muddy or super dirty, of like just sweaty and dirty and cut up from rock climbing. And so I said, oh, we're driving to Salt Lake City. I have a great idea. Let's go jump in Salt Lake. And the kids were like, this is great. And Josh was saying, he's been before, you can float to the top, all this great things. And I was prepping the kids how exciting this was going to be. And so we were walking out onto the beach, onto the lake. And we were just so excited because we were going to be in the Salt Lake and we were going to jump in. And the kids jump in and then just wail, just start screaming, it burns. And I was like, oh, salt water. And they were just so scratched up and all the sunburn, every scrap. And the salt water just was burning them to no end. And I have this vivid memory of my second boy, who was 4 at the time, just screaming, you told me this was gonna be fun. And I just was like, you're right, get out of the water. So I'm not sure if they'll ever go back there.
Not willingly.
Where the lava pits are.
Yes, exactly. So I would say shower before you go into Salt Lake, the actual water, because it burns. It was very fun. I thought it was a cool experience, except for it burns.
Don't go in if you're cut up from rock climbing.
Yes, take a shower. Clean those wounds first.
Awesome.
But that was our biggest epic, I think our biggest,
Biggest film.
biggest fail. But now we laugh about it. And the kids were just joke about how you don't want salt water on your wounds. But
Well, they learned a
was
lesson
fun.
there.
They did learn a lesson
The
there.
hard way.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And is there a specific memory the kids have, like collectively they agree this was the best park or this was the greatest day we had or anything like that?
I'd say Joshua Tree. They all really love Joshua
yeah.
Tree and the hoodoos. I think hiking the hoodoos is just a majestic Dr. Seuss feel to it that it just is. For kids, I think it just looks so whimsical and beautiful. So,
The hoodoos are in Bryce Canyon, correct?
Bryce Canyon, yes.
And then Joshua Tree. Yeah.
National Park, California.
What about Joshua Tree did you all love?
Yeah,
so
that was
much?
one we skipped out on. We were almost going to do it, but it was just like it was going to add like 10 hours of driving, so we
Yeah.
decided against it.
Yeah. I think what they loved most about Joshua Tree is just that you're camping in our campsite is in the middle of just rocks that they can scramble, climb on. So they were just constantly climbing up these big boulders. And then just we did a lot of bouldering there. So they would be able to go and like boulder around on this rock. And then there were also people rock climbing, 50 feet away. So they could watch that. And they thought that was really cool.
That's
Very
awesome.
cool.
Yeah, we saw some cool lizards.
Yeah, really cool.
So they like that a lot. But they also like, I think just the uniqueness. So whenever they found a unique landscape, they love that, right? So they love sequoia because the trees are giant, bigger than they could even imagine, right?
And even the differences between the two, on this trip, we went to two of the caves. We went to Carlsbad Caverns and Wind Cave in South Dakota, and they're so different. And our kids noticed it and discussed it and talked about that, and they love the cave.
So, Josh and Angel, for families who are considering setting out on such a trip, maybe a cross-country trip or an extended, multi-week camping trip, what advice do you have to give to someone who's debating whether they can handle it or not and what they should be thinking about?
And if it's worth it.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it. I think you just have to do it, right? You just have to jump off the cliff and go, because if you're going to plan it and have all your stops and know your mileage and everything, you're never going to get out of the house. You just, you plan to some extent, but then you just got to go.
Kind of do. From the logistics standpoint, I think our biggest helpful advice was someone told me get a crate for your car, put it right in your car. And when your kids get in the car, tell them to put their shoes in there. And so when we did our trip that way, whenever we would stop for a bathroom, everyone knew where their shoes were and they could easily put them on because the whole someone's got to go to the bathroom and now we have to find everyone's shoes. And
The shoes, they always come off right when you get in the car. And I don't understand. They always get everywhere.
We had one basket right when you walked in the car that was shoes and hats.
Yeah.
And that's where they went.
And that
That's
goes
a
back
great idea.
basically just everything though. Like everything in the car always went in the same spot. And the kids knew that. And so we always knew ballpark where everything was, right? We know clothes always were in the same spot. Cooking gear always went in the same bin in the same spot. Just so that we could stay sane and not spend 30 minutes ripping the car apart looking for a spatula.
Yeah.
I feel like we spent a lot of time trying to find stuff on our trip. I was like, where did I put that?
Yeah, and it definitely took a learning curve. I think after maybe a week or then we kind of got into the groove. Okay, this works better. The here and here.
Yeah, and figuring out how often you're using things and where they need to be in the car.
Yeah. And as far as the mentality of it, just have. I think for work for me, I'm much more of he's much more spontaneous than I am. I am the planner. I'm the schedule. I have the list. But I think part of it for me was just kind of letting go of what I think we had to do. We don't have to hike this 5 miles. We don't have to do this. We don't have to do this, this, and this to make this trip good. Let's say, kids, do you guys want to do this hike or this hike? And we just kind of embrace the moment versus try to make it something. Try to make something out of something that's already there. There's already this beauty in nature and beauty on the hikes and beauty being with your family that I think if we try to tweak that or change it or manipulate that, rather than just be with it, I think that for me was a really good mental change for me. And that helped me, the planner, become much more spontaneous and enjoy it so much.
That's awesome.
That's a good point. I have a follow-up question to that, and that's car rides with the kids. How did you keep them occupied on these like 4 or 5 hour drives
Or
that
even
you
like
were
an
doing?
18 or 16 hour first drive. Are you using screens? Are you doing, what are you doing?
We're mostly books.
Yeah.
Books.
Audiobooks.
Do you listen to audiobooks as a family, or does each kid have like their own audiobook, or what? How's that
we
work?
just kind of speaker through the
Yeah, we
speakers.
just would put one on and everybody would listen to it.
We got a lot of Boxcar Children in, a lot of Magic Tree House in, but it was good. And then sometimes we would put, like he might listen to a podcast himself if he does, or I would on my own device if if the kids were sleeping or something like that. Crayons, coloring.
And we didn't totally, with small screens. We would reward the kids with, hey, for the last hour of this ride, everybody's good. We'll put on a movie, or you can watch a couple episodes of the TV show.
But relatively, I would say more books for sure. That's got us through it. Lots of books.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And did you pause to take breaks for like playgrounds or stretch breaks for the kids just so that they didn't get antsy?
Yeah, we would do, so most, when we were driving in like the 2 to 4 hour range, we would pack up, do a hike in the morning, eat lunch, and then go right after lunch and do our drive in that
time.
Nap time. So as many of them that can nap, and the ones that aren't napping are just listening to stories or coloring.
Yeah.
And then if we needed to, we do one bathroom stop if needed to on a 2 to 4. But we really did try to keep those drives smaller, just so it's more, even for our sanity too, driving, because you get to the parks and sometimes at the parks, you have to drive 2 hours within a park to see something. So if we knew that kind of thing, so just keeping the location to location drive lower, smaller.
So Angel and Josh, is there any other like big trips planned in your future, or was this kind of like the big one and done? What is your thoughts there?
I have nothing planned right now, but I would absolutely do it again in a heartbeat. I'd love to do it again when the kids are older and we can really get into the backcountry and do some backpacking.
We talked about maybe hitting up the Northwest, different parks that we haven't gone to that we didn't hit on the trip. Maybe doing a trip there. Not necessarily always 6 weeks and not really limiting ourselves, but just saying we want to do more. We want to do more.
And how does your general lifestyle sound? Because, listeners hearing to this podcast, we just see this extreme, adventurous, travel hungry family. Like, what do you guys normally do? Like, what's your, I know you guys are homeschooling. Do you guys typically go on like weekend adventures or even weekday adventures? How does your kind of home life look?
It's nothing too crazy. I feel like it's pretty normal, but that's my perspective. We do weekend hikes. We may take a long weekend here and there and go camping. About a month ago, we went to Mammoth Cave National Park.
We try, and every day we try to do like a walk, be outside a little bit. We hike on the weekends, usually on Saturday mornings, and we do a little family hike. But day to day, it's just, we do the homeschooling with the kids at home, inside or outside, depending on how the weather. And then just kind of normal, I feel like after that, just,
Yeah.
Would you guys consider yourselves like a limited screen time family?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yes.
So like, how do you, I don't know, I feel like we're pretty limited in screen time too. And I feel like because of that, it causes us to like find so much other crazy thing, not crazy, but a lot of different things to get our kids into and gets us involved in a lot of unusual things. I know you guys listed board games as something that you guys do together. Is there anything like that you guys really get into with the kids?
Or a whole family experience that you love doing?
Maybe definitely board game.
Yeah.
A fair rock climb.
Yeah, we started to get the kids into
the rock
climbing.
Like indoor rock climbing, like at a gym or something?
Both indoor and outdoor. Honestly, it's the stuff that we like to do, right? It's the traveling, it's what we like to do. So we're going to do it with our kids, right? We enjoy playing board games.
I think it's easy for them embrace it too because we're passionate about it. So I think those types of things.
Yeah.
We do family reading time, read alouds a lot as a family. We drank hot chocolate today and just read books together, and those kinds of things.
Yeah, and the kids, like, if we like what the kids like, they'll go run around the block with us.
Yeah, he takes runs with the kids, the older two.
So yeah,
that's awesome. And what is a go-to board game that you guys like to play together?
All kinds of kids really like the kids' versions of Castle Panic or Settlers of Catan.
That's popular here too.
Yeah, that kids' version is really good. They like card games too, like Sleeping Queens.
Zombie Kids is
a big hit. And just card games and board games too.
Awesome.
Yeah, they're starting to learn more like the next level of strategy board games, which has been really fun for us to get them to learn. As they're reading, they can read the cards. Pokemon, they're really starting to play Pokemon.
Yeah, our kids are very into Pokemon.
Yeah.
I think one powerful thing you just shared was that, you're doing things that you love and you're bringing your kids along with them. And because they can see your passion in it, they themselves get excited to try and be a part of it, so you can share this part of your life that you love. I feel like a lot of families shortchange themselves by saying, oh, my kids are so young, I have to put off my dreams or my passions or the things I love doing because, well, I couldn't possibly bring my kids along, and I feel like there's a lot of parents who let their dreams kind of die and their love for life die during the young years of raising kids. And I think that's such a shame because it's such a beautiful time that you can share. You just modify the things you love doing and find a way to fold in your whole family into that aspect of your life. Whether it's camping or it's rock climbing or it's board games or adventuring. I think that that's a beautiful thing that you brought to light here, and that I hope listeners can reflect upon. You don't have to pause your life and the things you love during young years of childhood.
Bring your family into it, and they see your passion and spark it in them too.
I think when after we had our first kid, someone asked Josh, how has your life changed now that you have a kid? And I think Josh's response was, now they're in my life. Now they're a part of our life. That was the change. Not, oh, I have to stop doing this or we change this. It was, now they're part of it. Now they're part of this, our life journey. So I think that's kind of been our motto of parenthood. Now they're the part of our lives.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, couldn't agree more too. Yeah, and I love what you said about taking your kids running. I just feel like I don't see a lot of parents doing that, but during the beginning of the year, we were doing goals with the kids, and the kids, they see me running all the time. So the kids made a goal. Like my eldest was like, I want to run a half mile, and my other son was like, I want to run a quarter mile. And they're 6 and 4 now, and they did it like in February. They finished the goal. They made the goal in January and they finished by February. I thought it was going to take them a year to do, but they just went out and did it. And I was helping them, of course, but they were so passionate. And then we got into triathlons because I was training for my triathlon, and they got into swimming and running and biking, and we just had such a good time.
They were constantly going out during their lunch breaks saying, we need to train, and going to the backyard and like sprinting and doing their little circuit with their bikes and everything.
Yeah, but I feel like so many parents are busy creating like artificial environments for these kids because it's a kid environment they got to create, and they're not enjoying themselves, and the kids are kind of happy. But I feel like when the kids see the spark in you and that they can partake in that spark too, I think so much more magic can happen. So yeah,
plus
awesome.
Just the bonding that comes from that parent-child bond of saying we are both learning to do this together and loving the experience. Those are the memories that are going to last. It's not when mom and dad are sitting there bored out of their mind, and the kid is doing something that they're not involved in. It's these really meaningful connecting moments.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I know you guys mentioned something about family dinners, and I've always hear I was talking to just a coworker, I think 2 days ago, and he has 4 kids. They're older, they're like in their 20s now, and I was just like, oh, we're about to have our 4th kid. Any advice? And he was like, family dinners. that is like the one thing, if you do right, your kids will be okay. So I know you guys wrote family dinners as like an important thing. So I was just wondering what advice you might have for young families, about surrounding family dinners.
Yeah, just make it a priority. I think we put down everything and start with the prayer, gather everyone in, and we do it together. We kind of help the kids kind of help us with the meal lots of times and setting the table and making them have a role in the family dinners. And then we kind of have a little silly tradition maybe at dinner time. We go around and we all say what our favorite, and everyone has to draw attention to them, what their favorite part of their day is. And just to kind of do that, we recently started adding in either a way that someone's been kind to you or how you've been kind to someone else, and just to let them think outside of themselves throughout their day and not acknowledge the kind acts that people do. I think that's been really fun. And then it's just really then after that, it's just conversation at the dinner table and things.
I love that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, we need to do more with conversations.
We get a lot of random chatter at the dinner table, but that sounds like a good guided, facilitated way to go about getting those conversations
and I think
started.
the randomness is good too. Like I definitely think we have that chatter too, but sometimes it's just good. I think it makes them stop and acknowledge another person speaking and just teach those skills of like, it's not just this meal is a family dinner, and even the 2-year-old gets to contribute and what their favorite part of their day is, even if it's the same thing every day. And it's great. And it's eating dinner every night is the favorite. And that's fine. That makes mom feel really good. Or dad, let's cook the meal. So yeah, it's really just, I really value having, I think we both grew up that way, having family dinners. And it's been, it's a value to me and him as well.
Yeah, that's a precious time of connection that you can do every day, like a check-in with one another, just to really connect. That's great. A great tip for any family looking for more ways to build connection within their family.
Awesome. Josh and Angel, I want to thank you so much for coming on the FamVestor podcast. I really feel like the listeners, and even ourselves, I feel inspired, just to create some more of these magical family memories and go on these adventures and really just live a life that all of us can enjoy and truly be inspired about. If listeners want to reach out and get in contact with you, is there a way that they can do that, or you guys are on the down low?
We're pretty down low. You can always reach out via email, but that's about it.
Okay, maybe we'll get an email from you guys and release in the show notes. But yeah, Josh and Angel, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
it's fun chatting.
Thank you guys so much.